that. But before anything else, let me just say, we're pleased to have with us today Ms. Roberta Wall. While she's currently a resident of Asheville, North Carolina, she is a proud native of New York City. She's a lawyer, a rabbinical studies student, a disciple of Thich Nhat Hanh, a mother, grandmother, and she joins us tonight as her role as a leader in the nonviolent communications movement, where she's been a primary trainer around the world, working in hot zones like Israel, Palestine. And there, she usually leads groups of hundreds of Israelis and Palestinians coming together to learn about how to talk to each other, utilizing the strategies of nonviolent communication. She's done a lot of work with the Center for Social Justice and Reconciliation. Matter of fact, the last couple of years, she's been sort of helping us have conversations to bring ideologically opposed groups together and give us a strategy for how best to have those conversations. So thought that she would be a wonderful person to help us as we continue to think about the work with Bridging the Gap and how do we convey the message of transforming our understanding of race and moving to a racialist society in an atmosphere where many people are opposed to this idea. So thank you for being with us tonight, Roberta, and I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Rodney, and hi, everyone. As Rodney mentioned, one of my teachers is the Zen Buddhist peacemaker and poet Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away 2 weeks ago. So I thought I would dedicate my teaching tonight to him and start by reading 3 quotes from him. The first one is, "People can't talk to each other. This is why there is war and violence." Something to really meditate on. And then a little longer quote, "Restoring communication is the basic work for peace. Our political and spiritual leaders have to focus their energy on this matter. If they cannot communicate with themselves, members of their families, people in their own country, they have no understanding that will serve the base for right action, and they will make a lot of mistakes. They have to practice to get the kind of right insight for them to intervene in society." And that quote for me is at the heart of what I think nonviolent communication can bring to our movements to completely transform this country. And that is this connection between how I live, how can I live my life in a way that I am living the values that I want us to have, not only because it feels better to do that, but because that way I get to really understand what it means to live a different way, how I have to transform myself. When I understand that, it helps me understand the transformation that everyone needs. And this was, I think, his greatness as a teacher, really connecting the inner transformation with transforming the very structures of our society. And then the very last one, which is directly related to how I understood Rodney's request for me to be here tonight. Dialogue means everyone involved is willing to be affected by what they hear. Otherwise, it isn't a dialogue. So I just want to say that this last one, being willing to be affected, is what guides me. It's how I lean in, whether it's my daughters, whether it's parts of myself that I'm judging, whether it's my neighbors who support Trump. This is how I remind myself that if I'm not willing to be affected by what I'm hearing, there's no dialogue. So I want to do my own inner work, and this is what nonviolent communication helps me do, so that I feel confident that I could be in integrity with myself, stand my ground, be honest, and also be affected by what I hear from other people. So that's a little bit of what we're going to cover tonight. Nonviolent communication is a full framework of communicating with yourself and others. So tonight I just picked two of our principles because I think they're directly related to changing political, cultural core systems, like what we call social action, and particularly race. So I just picked two out of many. Rodney and I are talking about doing longer term trainings so that you can cover everything from how to talk to yourself, your partner, your teenage kids, as well as people who really live differently than you, and there are great divides. That's a longer training. What I'd like to do tonight is just give a little background to what is nonviolent communication, how does it work, have a few small breakouts so that you can try things out and then have group harvests. That's the general flow that I like to use when I'm presenting. A little teaching, application, and then really going over, well, why didn't it work? Why did it work? So that's the general flow. So nonviolent communication was developed by, and it's a very international movement. Most of the trainers are actually not in the United States. It's really one of the movements that I'm aware of that is truly global, global North, global South. And it was developed by a Jewish American psychotherapist named psychologist named Marshall Rosenberg. And he was a civil rights activist in the 60s, as well as a psychologist. And he wanted to bring together, again, the external, how do we change the world? And what's the connection between changing the world outside and working on ourselves so that we're in a constant growth pattern, which we need so much in this country right now. I mean, we're just so stuck. So I hope we all agree. We need growth, each of us. So the basic vision and purpose of nonviolent communication is to actually empower us to contribute to creating a world where everyone's needs are valued and ultimately met. And even as I say that right now, I have a sense, you know, we're just living in this well of hopelessness and despair. We have lost I think our capacity to dream that it's even possible to create a world where everyone's needs are valued and met. And yet, isn't this our birthright? Isn't this what we're here to do? Isn't this what we want from this one turn around however many suns we get? So I love the name of your group, Reimagining America, because it needs a complete reimagining. And we have to start with even reviving the possibility of that. And that is the purpose of gathering in community. So nonviolent communication is a really great modality to use within the community, right? Really within the beloved community, as well as when we're going out with people who we really want to cross the divides. So the two principles that I wanted to highlight tonight from nonviolent communication. Rodney, you might have heard these already. The first one is connect before you correct. Okay, connect before you correct. And what I mean by that is that when I hear a message that I don't like, I resist, it generates anger in me, disgust. If I choose to connect with the person who's bringing that message, nonviolent communication has shown that the only way we can really create trust, create connection, is if I can do my inner work so that I get curious about what is important to them about saying that. that there's no reason for me to try and correct them until we have really connected around what's important to them. I think those of us who are parents have discovered this in our parenting. You know, how often you say something and what was heard is so far from what you thought you said, you like you're in two different universes. So that's because the connection with what was really important to the other person was not made in that moment. Maybe you had it yesterday, but you didn't have it right now. So I want us to do a little practice to understand what I mean by connect before you correct, okay? So I'm going to ask everyone, maybe 3 people, just share, unmute yourself and share something you imagine you would hear someone say in a conversation about race that would really trigger your upset, your anger, your disgust, your fear. And is there someone who could maybe write the 3 what we hear in the chat? Erin, you want to do that? Is Erin here?
She's here.
Is that,
Yeah,
are you
I can
okay
do
with
it.
that, Erin?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right. So, okay, Rodney put one in the chat. Race is no longer a problem. Okay. I'm happy to hear people's voices right now, you know, not just my own. So if you want to say your sentence into the group and write it, that's great too.
One that always grinds my gears is when people say, I don't see color.
I don't see color. Okay. And I think I saw one more. They are all like that. Okay. All right. Those are 3 pretty juicy ones. Yeah. Okay. So the first step in nonviolent communication is, how do I find willingness in myself to connect with someone who says one of these 3 things? What are the obstacles? What comes up right away for you about why you would resist that? And please maybe share out loud.
And
My
I
initial
would get the
anger.
feeling that I think it's so obvious they're wrong. I don't know how to deal with it.
So it seems so obvious they're wrong that you just feel hopeless about really connecting. Is that a fair restatement?
Yeah, sort of, you know, the idea of connecting with someone is that there is some give and take on both sides. At least that's my sense. And if I don't see myself giving at all in this position, it's hard for me to have that dialogue with somebody.
So pick one of these and say a little more about if I don't see myself giving when I hear this statement, just so I get a little more what you're saying. When you hear someone say, I don't see color, you don't know how to connect because you're muted.
There we go.
Okay.
Anyway, you know, it just seems to me to be kind of obvious. Well, the one in the middle, they are all like that. It's such a generalization, and I just want to, makes me angry. I just want to beat back at them.
Great. So one reason why it would be very hard to engage in dialogue is I feel angry. And I just want to do violence. That's how angry I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
in some sense, yeah.
Yeah. So I really appreciate your honesty about that. right? This is a group that's about creating dialogue, and you're coming forward honestly to say, when I hear this shit, I just want to push back. Yeah. So it's so important that we understand that that's what's going on in ourselves. Right. And before Bob shares, I see your hand up. This is the inner process that we can go through. Okay. I hear that. I feel angry. Okay. That's the first step. What do I feel? I feel angry. Aaron or Maddie was going to post. Can you screen share that list of feelings?
Yes.
So the first step of nonviolent communication is to know what's going on in me before I engage in a difficult interaction. So James has already shared, I feel angry. And I'm guessing a lot of us would feel angry hearing any of these statements, right? So I feel angry, and where's I don't see the feel, here it is. Okay, so scroll all the way up. Scroll up, 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 keep going. No, you don't have to make it smaller, just keep moving it up. Because we want to use these sheets to help us understand. So keep going down to down the page, down, 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 down. Okay, right there. Whoop. Okay. I feel angry. Okay, how else do I feel? So the first thing we want to do when we hear a statement that derails our intention to connect is to self-connect. So what else do we feel under the anger when you hear any one of these three statements? Anybody see any other words on this sheet or any words that come up to you? How else do you feel when you hear these statements?
I feel disappointed.
Disappointed, yes. Yeah.
Because I had hoped that we might have a freer conversation. And then when I hear something like that, I'm just disappointed that it's coming from whoever it is I'm talking to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So let your body settle into that feeling of disappointment. Because this is how we find our own inner power, right? And you said it, you said, I'm disappointed because I had hope that we could have a conversation. Wow. Yeah. So this is going to be an on the spot inner, actually we called this emotional Band-Aid, like an on the spot Band-Aid. Because I have to restore myself to the place I want to be so that I can have a conversation, right? I don't want to ignore what's going on inside. So yeah, I'm just feeling disappointed. I really wanted to connect. I really had hope it was possible. Anybody else want to share what feeling would come up for you when you hear?
I'll jump in and just say that, about a year ago, someone, dear friend of mine, I thought was a dear friend, said something to me that was so incredibly racist. I hung up the phone. I've never spoken to him again. And in part, I felt like I was saying, what signal did I send that made him think he could say anything like that to me?
Yeah. So you felt confused and maybe a little scared that somehow you weren't showing up in integrity.
Right. You've known me all these years. What would ever make you think you could say anything like that?
Yeah. 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 So this is a self-connection we really want to do because we're fortifying ourselves. Can somebody mute themselves? Who's got that phone going off?
That was me. I just.
Okay. So yeah. So just repeat that again. I just felt like shocked and frustrated and maybe a little like scared. Like, how could this person think that?
Yeah.
It's okay to say that to me. Don't they know me?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've never spoken to that person again.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you feel about having never spoken to them again right now?
I'm just fine with it.
Okay. Okay. Because a lot of times we cut off ties and we go back and we're like, no, I want to figure out how I can do this.
No, there's some lines you can't uncross.
Okay. All right. So one more person just want to share what feelings come up for you when you hear these statements that are in the chat. Yeah. Yeah. Joanne, just jump in.
I want to kind of tie into what Ross just said. For me, I feel violated.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a human being, as a person of color, as a woman, whatever it is, it just feels, but I've been violated and it never seems to stop.
Yeah. Violated and it never seems to stop. Yeah. Just, wow. Just like a level of exhaustion, I can imagine. Just, and hopelessness and yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is the first step is to really connect with how do I feel? What's going on in me when I hear these difficult statements? Okay. So the next sheet to share is the needs inventory. So first we shared these lists that just help us start to get a vocabulary about our feelings. And then one of the basic principles of nonviolent communication, while Erin is pulling up the needs inventory, is that all actions, all words are attempts to meet needs. And these are the needs. And this is where NVC is the abbreviation for nonviolent communication. So I'm going to use NVC. This is where it starts to get super juicy, I think. When you feel violated, when you feel angry, when you feel hopeless, the different feelings that we've come, right? What are the needs that aren't being met that are generating these feelings? So we want to go from, we hear something, we feel upset, we feel angry, we feel disgusted. We want to understand that we feel the way we feel, not because of what they did or said. That's giving away our power to someone else. Other people don't cause our feelings. Other people do things that trigger our feelings because there are values that we hold dear. And these are the values, the energies of life that we want more of. So when we say, wow, I feel angry because I want hope that we can create a better world. I'm not saying I feel angry because of what you said, right? When I say I feel angry because of what you said, who am I giving the power to? The person who spoke. So we want to reclaim the power and our vision. Okay, so when you hear those sentences, when you feel the way you feel, what are some needs of yours that aren't met? And maybe you can move the sheet up a little bit because there's some more needs. Yeah, well, that's too much. A little more down, down, down. Okay. There's even some more. Maybe we can make that. Oh, you know, you can change your viewing options. Everybody know how to change your viewing option? Oh, no, we still can't because it's screen shared. I think you have to make the print a little smaller, Erin. So what?
Hey, Roberta, Maddie's the one sharing her screen.
Oh,
but I'm also dropping the files in the chat. So if people want to look at them on their own computer,
oh,
they have them there as well.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. And I really suggest taking these with you as resources. They're just great ways to self-connect before you go into a conversation, or even in the middle. You're in the middle of a heavy conversation and you know you've totally lost your capacity to connect and you want to connect, right? So I'm not saying you should. There are times we decide, I don't want to connect, and we walk away. And, you know, that's another way of dealing with this. But we're talking about how to stay in the conversation, how to have the challenging conversations, right? So what needs of yours aren't met when you hear people say these comments?
All of them. No, just joking. But
Wow.
actually, I'm looking at this list and, you know, I mean, I think part of the reason, if you're asking somebody a question, you're wanting at least, you're extending an olive branch, at least I am, of having a conversation, seeking understanding. And so you're offering validation, but what I find, and one of my thoughts were, these folks, when they say these things, at least to me, they just sound arrogant. They sound very certain and arrogant and very dismissive. And so, you know, it's hard for me to pick which. It might be under empathy and understanding, but I think there's some of this mutual respect piece that I sort of need and want. And then when you don't get that, okay, I don't know quite how to operate in that, okay, type of more combative existence. And so, so like others, I get angry or check out or whatever.
Okay, so as long as we are judging the other person as arrogant, selfish, stupid, unworthy, anything like that, what do you think are the chances of connecting with them?
Well, I hear what you say about judging. It's, you know, there's also an assessment. I mean, it could be they really are being that way, and it's more of a threat. But yes, I do agree with you. If there's judging, I'm less of a condemner and I'm more of a relator. And so for me, if somebody comes off that way, I tend to feel more threatened than I do judging.
Well, let's ask ourselves, when someone comes at you with a judgment, or they say something that's nice words, but you know, under it, there's a judgment about you as being arrogant, stupid, useless. Do you connect with them? I'm not just asking Bob, I'm asking all of us. I don't want to connect when there isn't that mutual flow of respect and trust. I do not want to connect. I mean, as Joanne said, it's an experience of being violated, whether it's coming from me or them. So
Yeah, I find it's more of an issue.
I think we lost you, Bob.
oh,
Jim,
I mean,
Jim,
Jim.
you're on mute.
Yeah, Jim, you back? Okay.
Yeah. What I was trying to say was that if somebody, you know, got disrespect or that sort of thing, for the most part, I have over the years been able to brush that off. But what bothers me going on right now, just to get it out here on the table, is the whole political situation, where some of the things that are happening with some people, I feel threatened by. I'm afraid of some of the directions that the
Great.
society's going. And when I'm
that's
talking
where we
to
want to go. We want to go from our judgments to, wow, I really feel scared when I hear that.
right.
So that's when you can connect. Then that's what nonviolent communication shows us how to do. We look at our judgments, we don't ignore them, we don't dispute them, we just say it's not an effective way to connect. If I want to connect with someone, I need to look at my judgment and go, wow, what are my feelings and my needs under the judgment? And then I want to learn to speak from there, because that is the only hope of a nonviolent connection. So for example, when someone says, I'm going to just look in the chat, I don't see color. First of all, completely depends who says that, how I react. Is that correct? Right? And that tells me something. That again tells me that why I'm feeling the way I feel is because there's something important to me. It's not because of what they're saying. So depending on who that person says that, what's important to me is dignity, respect, trust, awareness. I mean, right? It just depends. So I don't go back to somebody, and if I want to connect with them, again, this is a choice. Rodney said, Roberta, come and talk about how we connect so we can have difficult conversations. So that's what we're talking about. I am not saying you should go out there and connect with everyone. There's absolutely a choice. And we could do a whole session on how to choose and how to accept yourself when you choose. I mean, this is really important stuff just for self-preservation, right? We've got to set some boundaries or we're going to be completely depleted and exhausted. But we're just assuming in this session and in this group that we're trying to figure out how do we connect with people when we are judging them, when they are judging us. What do we do? So the first thing we do is go in and go, wow, when I hear that, I feel angry, violated, disgusted, because I want a different world. Okay, and then I keep going until I get to something like fear, because that's something I can communicate. So what happens when I say, you know, when you say you don't see color, I guess I feel scared. Why do I feel scared? Because I don't understand what you mean, actually. I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand what someone who says that in America today means. And it's really hard for me to connect with you. I'm just modeling what might come out of me. It's hard for me to connect with you because I see race as like the core issue in our country. So help me understand. What do you mean when you say that? Now we're in a dialogue, and it's authentic on my part. I hope I'm not in any way condoning white supremacy and racism. I'm just like connected with, wow, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And going through that process generates curiosity in me. And why we want to go through these inner processes in the context of a hard, challenging conversation is so we generate the energy of curiosity. That is a connecting energy. And I think people are far more likely to respond to us and to engage with us to whatever extent they can when they sense that we really have curiosity. Like, what do you mean? Help me understand. Samantha, you wanted to say something?
Well, okay, so I might not be as evolved as some, and I am contentious, you know, and I do prejudge, and I definitely feel people are too ignorant to talk out of it. But I could definitely use this help on talking to people, you know, just that I work with. You know, when you're working and you're trying to communicate with people, often things get either misinterpreted or you're in the middle of one thing, so you say something one way and it didn't come out the right way on the other side or something. This is just good for any relationship, you know, a reaction to any relationship. So I appreciate this. That's all.
Thank you. And I want to say, going back to that quote I read from Thich Nhat Hanh at the beginning, he's saying, if we don't practice this in our relationships, in the workplace, in the family, and if our leaders don't practice this, then we won't have the raw material, the knowledge, the experience to practice it in really, you know, the challenging situation in our country. So I want to encourage everybody to, yeah, just try this out. It has been a complete game changer in my family. In all generations of my family. We practiced it with my 6-year-old grandson, and then my daughters, and then we did with my parents. They're of blessed memory now, they're not around, but yeah, something difficult comes at you. Don't ignore the impact that it has on you, but take responsibility for that impact by understanding yourself, which is a really empowering thing to do. And then come back with some question. What do you mean? Help me understand what's really going on for you. And this is empathy. To me, this is what empathy means. Empathy isn't, I agree with you, I condone what you do, I approve. That is not empathy. Empathy is, help me understand what is going on for you. So what I'd like to do, and that's what we call connect before you correct, right? I'm not going to waste my breath trying to convince somebody when I know they can't hear me. So I want to do a little role play, and then we can do a little small group practice. And then there's a second NVC principle I want to bring in tonight. Doug, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, the other thing I noticed you did is you used only I statements. You know,
Yeah.
at least my first inclination would be to use you statements. You're a jerk. You're really stupid. But you used non-threatening I statements, which again, keeps those lines of communication open and keep the space safe. You know, that's safe space, I guess we're trying to have this discussion.
Yeah, and because again, the framework of this group is, how do we have these discussions, right? Not what do I say when I don't care and I never want to see the person again, right? Right, you have to be willing to really invest in this. And I ask myself every day, is there an alternative to doing this hard work? And I don't think there is a nonviolent alternative. That's where I've arrived at. And I'm holding on to the possibility that we can get the world we want for our children and grandchildren without violence. Oh, Reverend Glency, I was hoping Glency would be here. Okay, so who would like to pick one of the sentences and do a quick role play with me, just so I could model a little more how we're using these feelings and needs, and then we can go into a breakout group just for like 5 minutes so people can just try it. Okay, Rodney, you're on, because I don't see any hands up.
All right.
So which sentence do we want to role play? Or you throw a sentence at me, any sentence that yeah.
Well, I don't understand why people are so on about race all the time. I just don't see color.
Yeah, yeah. So when you say you don't see color, is that because you want to value everyone equally? Is that what you mean?
I think that's the American way, that we all need to just get over seeing color. And if we could just get over seeing color, then everything be fine. It's them that always bring up that race issue. And if we'd all just get over it, we'd be fine.
So when you say it's them that bring up race issue, you mean people who identify as people of color?
Yeah, sometimes them, and sometimes other folk who just have to bring this into the conversation all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So it's maybe it's something that you feel troubled about because you see it dividing our country and instead of bringing it together.
Yeah, maybe if people didn't see color, then we wouldn't have this as an issue.
So, wow. I'm really connecting with what I think, where I think you're going. It's like, how can we just get along together? And you're saying maybe it's by just stop not thinking in terms of color. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, sort of. I think it is sort of what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I'm going to end the role play, but
Mhm.
you see, it's amazing because that list of needs that we showed are universal. And I think I feel courage to do this because I have sat with Israelis and Palestinians for more than 10 years and seen a light bulb go off when people realize, oh, we actually do want the same thing in the end.
I like the way that you worked it back around to a place where you found common ground, and you utilize that as sort of a basis for conversation. And just as someone who's trying to be opposed to you, it sort of tripped me up. I didn't quite know where to go after that.
Yeah, and it was genuine on my part. Look, first of all, I'm guessing all of us in this group, we're here because we actually want to find people we can actually talk to. I mean, that's kind of part of the dream here, that we can have these. So I am sincerely looking for places to connect. Now, remember I said connect before you correct.
Mhm.
So one of the ways I feel empowered to do this and enough courage to do this is because I know that I am going to take my turn when it comes. And that's really important. Like this empathy is not to be a tool for submission. It's not to give the impression that I am agreeing and condoning. But once the connection is made, and I think we just got to the point where the connection, was almost made. I might have gone back once or twice. Then I would say, well, are you open to hearing what comes up for me? Right? So I ask, can we switch? I'm not going to wait for them to give me the floor, right? I'm going to take, this is why this is a very empowering form of communication. It's all on me. It's on me to make to self-aware. It's on me to generate curiosity. It's on me to find places I can connect with this person. And it's on me to hold my ground so that I get the floor, which is often the hardest part, of course. The related, Rodney, what time does this end? I'm sorry, I've lost track of the time.
Usually we end at 6:30, but if you want to go a little bit longer, I think that people will be willing to listen. Yes.
All right. So we're not going to break into small groups just yet. I want to say the second principle of nonviolent communication, because this has been a game changer for me. And it's related to what just happened in the role play we saw between me and Rodney. So I was getting to the needs, the universal needs. That is what connects us. Oh, like he wants a country that isn't all fragmented. Wow. I want that too. Right. So we share the global need, the global value of creating a place where everyone fits in. However, his strategies for meeting that need are very different from mine, right? And that's where the conflict is. So the second principle that I learned from nonviolent communication that I use, whether I'm making a decision for myself about where I want to live, or a conversation with a family member or a workplace friend, or somebody who I want to have a cross dialogue with, is conflict does not occur at the level of the universal needs and values that all life shares. Conflict only occurs at the level of the strategies we employ to meet the needs. So some people's strategy to meet the needs of saying race is an illusion, right? The strategy some people use is to completely trample on the rights of people who are not seen as being part of the dominant American race, which is, we know, a fiction on every level, but right, that's their strategy for creating a cohesive society, right? My strategy is very, very different, right? My strategy is to empower people who haven't had privilege, voice, and power, and then see what happens. So there's a conflict around the strategy. So really starting to discern the difference between the needs, the universal life needs, and could you put that list up again, Erin? Thank you. And the strategies we use to meet the needs is a great principle for conflict, decision-making, and clarity. So again, listening to the conversation that Rodney and I were just role-playing, when Erin gets that needs inventory posted, what were the needs that you were hearing Rodney and I in role expressing? Because I just want to do this so that we could understand what I mean when I say conflict does not exist at the level of the needs. Is there a problem pulling up the needs inventory?
No, I'm getting it. It just didn't want to open. It was in a different folder.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay. So, yeah, like what needs did you hear Rodney expressing? And what needs, well, I didn't really express any because I was just being curious, but yeah, what needs were you hearing Rodney express when he was in that role play? Is there a way we could, make that smaller so we could see the whole? I know that maybe if you pull the sheet up a little bit. No, maybe not. Rodney, can you identify needs that you see? I have to take my glasses off and look really close. What needs were we really hearing Rodney in role expressing? I was hearing a need for belonging. That this person just doesn't understand people who he identifies as, the people who talk about race or who are fixated on race, and that's not what America is about. I hear him looking for belonging. Do other people hear that as a possible need?
I think I felt personally, as I was trying to do it, a need for safety, because it felt like talking about color was uncomfortable space. I think I also felt a need for a desire to be affirmed, i.e., oh yeah, I don't see color, therefore, I'm a good guy. I'm not thinking like a racist. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, acceptance and being valued. Yeah. Now, think about the people he's talking about. What are the needs? Acceptance, being valued, belonging, right? There's no conflict on the level of those needs. This is our unity, our vision. The conflict occurs on the level of the strategies we employ to meet those needs. And what the situation that we're in the world, in our country, and in too many of even our personal relationships is that we get fixated on one strategy to meet our need. And then we're in a world of complete scarcity and conflict. So conflict arises when you think there's only one strategy, one course of action to meet your need. So we want to connect before we correct. So we're creating partnership to engage in a process to transform conflict into shared dilemma. So that's the big vision. I think our time is up. Not enough time. Our trainings with Israelis and Palestinians, I want you to know, are 9 days. We lived together for 9 days in the West Bank. And, you know, so it's a big intensive commitment. You know, these transformations don't immediately come, although sometimes they do. So maybe we just take a few minutes for questions, and then I don't want to keep everybody longer than you had planned. Questions, comments?
Yeah, I'd love to. I want to ponder the needs assessments and begin to delve into what are the needs here in conversation. And I'm sorry that we didn't get a chance to practice it more, because I'd love to be able to suss that out in conversations.
Yeah. Well, I would love to do, I mean, I think we need like a minimum of an hour of like a full hour minimum. Because I find when we go into the small groups, it's important to really set them up so people understand what we're doing in the small groups, try it out, and then come back and have a chance to debrief. And then try again, because, you know, this is really new ways of communicating. So
I saw, who is it? Doug might have raised his hand before me.
Yeah, I love this. You know, talking about our feelings in the context of social justice and the political time that we're in. I could do 10 hours of this, 10 days. Thank you so much. And I don't, my mental capacity doesn't click real fast, so I'll probably understand better what I'm trying to communicate after we're off the Zoom. But my initial feeling and thought process is, I'm a retired Presbyterian minister, 40 years of ministry. My approach had always been pastoral care, find people's needs, work with them through difficult situations, and maybe that will, by my behavior with them, build a bridge for them to be more involved in the community. I'm totally disillusioned right now with 2016 election of Trump. I see the people that I pastored and loved, that I still love to this day, unable to make the bridge between the personal and the public. You know, Reverend Barber said, or Cornel West, justice is love made public. And I love the feelings, because you know I've always felt you know I'm misunderstood by my family, or mostly censor thinker judgers, and I'm a intuitive feeler, you know. So I love the feelings. I could spend days talking about my feelings, but you know the real life experience of working with pastoral care and feelings, I don't know that it's accomplished much in my 40 years. You know, I feel stymied. The people that I love don't get it when it comes to love made public, justice. So I don't, talk to me.
yeah. I can just really hear how all those years of what you imagined was really planting seeds of compassion and empathy and understanding, and then just seeing where people are going in the public sphere. I can imagine that's beyond disappointing. Yeah, scary. We're in a scary time.
We're in a scary time, but I you know, the history of nonviolent protest has been transformative. So, you know, you've got my attention. You know, I'm a believer, but help my unbelief. You know, take me to the justice path. I'm willing to follow, but I am a little skeptical, is what I'm saying. That you know, how do we take this conversation and stay connected and take it to a deeper level in the public realm. Where it may mean that we're going to be in conflict. I'm going to be in conflict with the people that I pastored because I'm saying this is wrong. What we're practicing is not Christian. It's not, it is not decent. It is not ethical. Calling into question, the institutions of church and society as presently embodied in our world politic. How do we do that and not become self-destructive to our nonviolent path to transform the public space with justice and love?
I had the same questions. And I don't know any other way that at least works for me in little ways than this. It's so, I would say anybody who's not a little discouraged right now is probably like asleep,
Yeah. I think Samantha's got her hand up too.
Yes. Thank you, Doug, for your honesty and your vulnerability. I appreciate that.
I just have a question about the work you're doing between the Israelis and Palestinians. Is that considered a religious rift, the people you're dealing with? It's not a race rift, right?
There's a lot of differences of opinion about what, is there like a core breach, and something that I really value about using nonviolent communication is that I don't need to have a theory about.
No, I'm just wondering how it's approached, because when I went to the Middle East, I couldn't tell an Israeli from a Palestinian, a modern Israeli from a modern Palestinian.
Right.
So it's not a race issue there, it's something different.
Yeah. So I'll just say that we have people with all different views and analyses and political positions who come to our trainings. And I'm frustrated because I haven't been able to be part of here that kind of gathering. I'm always telling people, I think the Israelis and Palestinians are way ahead of us, maybe because they're actually killing each other. So enough of them know that they've got to get together, but to me, there are way more people coming together there across vast divides than there are here. And that scares me, and I feel tremendous grief about that. So part of it is to start to translate everything into people's feelings and needs, rather than judging and labeling and pigeonholing people, even if they vote Republican, even if they whatever, that's not how we're going to judge each other. We're going to really connect around the moral character, and that means listening through people's positions. Mr. Shipman has hand up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I apologize. I'm driving, but I wanted to just say two things from Dr. Sadler. When we're going to have you to come back and have that extended time for us to go more into this. It's very enlightening and most appreciative. I found it very interesting because I was just in a retreat with board members for a particular seminary that I'm serve on. And we were talking something very similar about the language that we need to evoke when you're trying to get people to communicate with their feelings. And they said that it was different. It was really interesting what you said tonight. It's kind of an overlap. They said instead of using, quote, the leading causes of death in our conversation, always talking about a death culture. We need to talk about the leading causes of life.
Mm.
And when you change your vocabulary and you start focusing on those types of things, then life always evolves around how people feel and how we have commonality in our needs. And the very first element of that was, it's interesting what you said, but the very first element was connection. And that's what you said tonight. So it's just a confirmation for this retreat I just got out of. So thank you so much. Look forward to you coming back.
You're welcome. Thank you. So it's 6:43. Did somebody else?
Roberta.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, Glency.
Hi, and I'm sorry, I can't see if everybody's, if anyone else's hands are up, and I'm doing 50 million things, but I want to say it's good to see you. And I do want to connect with you with your process and some other processes that I'm looking at with a project that I'm working on. So that's all I need to say. Great to see you. And I'm sorry we don't have time to break out into small groups.
I know.
So this is what I'm thinking. And thank you, Reverend Glency, for saying that. Thank you, Dr. Shipman, for raising that point. I think so many other people, Bob has said the same thing. Jennifer, I said the same thing. We need to do something of this more. So what if we thought about the possibility of hiring you to do a training for us on a Saturday afternoon or something? I know it's Shabbat, but maybe in the afternoon to sort of sit down and maybe do 2 or 3 hours where we can go into greater detail.
Yeah. Anytime after 1
Okay.
is okay. Because we're talking about Zoom, right?
Yeah. Talking about Zoom. Our lives
I'm already on Zoom when I go to synagogue. So, I can't say, no, I can't do Zoom for, yeah, I would really like to do that. And probably I'd like to join this group after.
Please come join the group now. Be part of the work that we're doing here now. We've got people from all over the place. Tonight we've had on the phone people from, Doug, where are you from? You're from?
I live in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Michigan.
I'm a member of Lake Michigan Presbytery. Yeah.
Wow.
We've got people from Albemarle. We've got people from so many different places. We had people from Richmond on earlier. So we do have people from all over the place. So Asheville's not that far away.
I know.
Amen. So I want to say thank you tonight. Thank you, Roberta, for giving us your time, for giving us your wisdom and your insight. I always learn more things every time I talk with you and every time I hear from you. And this is a hard nut to crack. Sort of interesting to see where things overlap. Some of the things that Dr. Gopin has said, some of the things that that Nathan Stock has said, some of the things that you have said, they all tend to lead us back to that same notion. We've got to establish connection before anything else can happen. We have to be able to listen and try to have a listening, even if we don't affirm what people are saying, be able to listen to them, to hear what they're saying. And we've got to be able to try to find a way to understand what's going on inside of us and not just respond from that natural rage, anger, whatever that initial thing is. So much overlap I've seen so far and want to build on that as we go. I want to say before we go tonight.
I need to say, sorry, one thing that I just put in the chat. So my teacher, Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of Nonviolent Communication, there's tons of videos of him on YouTube. So just, put that in and start watching. Also, there's quite a few videos of me on my website. I could put that in, but I really recommend Marshall Rosenberg's videos. So, okay. But I'll put my website in there too. Actually, there's some interesting things there.
Excellent. Thank you. I just wanted to say, those of you who can, please join us on Friday for the leadership team meeting. And we'll go over some more details about what's going on with Education Committee that had an amazing meeting today. Thank you so much, Joanne and Kevin, for that. Going with the voting rights group, thank you so much, Samantha and Deandra in absentia, for some of the work that's going on in these two committees as they continue to develop. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow with the Criminal Justice Subcommittee. So Bob is helping to coordinate that for us and get us back on track on that work. And we wanted to say that next Wednesday night, we're going to hear from Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., who is the executive for this new, it's not new, it's about 15 years old, the White Privilege Conference. But this will be the first time it's ever been held in the South. This will be the first time that this conference will have been held below the Mason-Dixon line. So a lot of people are excited about what this could mean for Charlotte. And it is supposedly a life-changing event. I have friends that have gone for years, and indeed Jan Edmiston, the presbyter for Charlotte, went a couple years ago, and she basically went up and begged him to allow her to host it here in Charlotte so that we could wrestle with issues. This year, we're going to focus on the role of the church in part in this conversation on white privilege. So this should be a rich conversation next Wednesday. Please invite any of your friends, any colleagues that you'd like to invite to participate in that with us. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Roberta, for all that you contribute always and forever, and look forward to more opportunities to partner with you, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
God bless. Reverend Glency, did you want to say? Oh, there we go. You lost her.